Okay, I just started this recorder, my high fidelity recorder, which is important. It's a well, I'm sorry, I'm not going to go into that, and I realized I said I was going to take off my glasses because of these ridiculous reflections. I just needed my glasses to check out, the angles and everything, and, try experimenting with different things. Because this is an example of what's really a podcast, although, I realize a lot of people don't want to just sit and listen. I mean, it'd be great. It's great to be able to listen, like in the car, but a lot of people need something more. They need some visual stuff, well, that's part of the way Parators Net and OHAMSI, the unincorporated communal entity, that's open to all, but most don't have the imagination, the curiosity, the perseverance, the openness of mind and heart that is a kind of a hallmark of what OHAMSI is. OHAMSI is a place where people are not so concerned with getting other people to agree with them or get people to go along with them, or argue with people, anything. I mean, it's a place where people feel it's not only fine, but it's celebrated. We love it when you speak your mind, no matter what. Even if we don't listen, I mean, we don't consider listening a required part of being a member of OHAMSI. OHAMSI is a place for people to share whatever way they want to share. We tend to be a little shy of text, but we're not against it. You could use it. There's no reason why a person who, say, has a sequel in mind for, I don't know, a story, I don't know, a story, just let's pick out of the blue what it might be called. I don't know, let's see. Oh, shit, my car needs the boost, that's it, yes. Yeah, that's it. I mean, I don't know where that came from. Woz. Or is it Woz? I don't know. W-O-Z. There was a lot of young people don't know that about the two Steves. They only know about Steve J. They don't know about Steve W. Not that Steve W. really, not that he's so unknown. He's just not known by the, he's not going to go down in history the way Steve J. is. Although he could, he's a wealthy man. And I'm sure when Woz talks, people listen. And it's just what he wants to do with his money and fame. Who knows? I don't know what he's up to. I'm sure that, whatever, I don't know. But I'm speaking like poetically, not, scientifically, fictionally, not versus non-fictionally, about, I'm just thinking about the fact that Steve J. would not have gotten where he got without Steve W. Steve J. had the ideas, and they were there, and he's, as could be told, until he died at our age, last year, holy cow, 57 or 56 when he died, the same age that you and I are, maybe months difference, but I'm sure, he was in high school when we were in high school, the whole 9 yards, holy shit. When we were doing that, that morning of that last class, with that teacher who was so terrible, he was the chair of the department. Now that I couldn't figure out who the hell you were talking about, but he was the head of the Integrated Liberal Studies. It was whatever it was called, not a program. Yeah, and yeah, he was a terrible teacher, right? And anyway, that's what we were doing while Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak were in the garage there. And Steve Wozniak, this is, I don't know anything about the guy, but I think it's rather safe to assume that there was one part of him that was essential. Whatever else he brought, I'm sure he brought technical abilities, he brought ideas, you know, he was a sounding board. His role was, you know, probably many things that Steve J needed. But I would just guess that the one thing for which Steve W was so important, I mean, the most important thing that Woz was to Jay, Woz was to Jobs. And this, again, it's just my imagination, but I have a reason to say this based on experience. Not on experience of Steve Wozniak. I don't know anything about him. But I'm just talking about life experience. Based on life experience, actually with very current, you know, current history in my life. Up to now, you know, I have been in situations in which I think I know exactly what Jobs needed from Woz, more than anything. And again, Woz, I'm sure, was a very smart guy who brought all sorts of things. Because, you know, one guy can't make apple. Two guys can't make apple, but two guys can get 3 and 4 and 5. One guy has to get 1, and then the 2 can get 3 and 4. And that, you know. So what's his one thing? Somebody who believed. Yes, Steve, you can, yes, we can do this. We can. We can. You're right. I mean, you know, everybody thinks you're just a total wacko, but I know. I mean, you know, people say, oh, yeah, he's driven and blah, 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 but, you know, that's the standard. That's what people, that's the way people are. I can attest to that. And especially the people closest to me tend to be the most that way. And sometimes I get really angry, and sometimes I go, it's not, you know, I have not been the easiest guy in the world over these past few years. I've been acting like I'm a bit of a nutcase, but this is my life's work. I know. It's like now it's very clear that the path is clear. The exact way of proceeding down that path will just become, you know, it will show itself to be the way it is along the way. And each time that will bring us to a spot that we go, okay, well, yes, we solved that, but now we can go on to the 85 other thousand things, and actually now we realize there's something else to focus on. But, you know, we go into it with the attitude of, we can do it. We can do it. There's nothing in this whole parroting thing that puts its faith in magic or in scientific foundations. It's about being direct with people and talking about behavior, not talking about theory, about theoretically you could be this way. I'm talking about being a way that's more connected to yourself. Don't be more like me. It's not the idea. The idea is I need to be me. You need to be you. And it's a pretty safe kind of assertion, you know. It's not the popular idea. For the most part, people feel that that I should be more like my boss. I should be more like my big brother, my big sister, that person who lives down the block. You know, that's the way we think. And unfortunately, school, to a large extent, is a culprit in all of this. We are taught to learn to do it their way. Learn to look up what the experts have to say. And, you know, those skills are good. We don't want to just, you know, go through life only doing what we experience, only trusting in our own experience as the sole indicator of what there is. And you know, before writing, or before language, really, before language, people were much more like animals. So that, imagine people in that intermediate period when people actually had something of the intelligence that we have, people who actually have consciousness in themselves. Well, there probably always was some kind of language. I mean, just like dogs figure out. I mean, dogs have a language to communicate between themselves. It's a lot of it comes through their nose. Did you ever see the Triplets of Belleville? If you haven't seen it, you should. Just for one scene, although there are a bunch of neat scenes, and the scene about the dog's dream and how he's dreaming. You're seeing the visualization of this. Is an animated movie, in case you. That's why you can see all this stuff. So you see this dog, sleeping, and he's clearly starting to dream, and the dream enters into his nose, and it goes way in. You see it go down the nasal passageways into the brain, and these associations, and it moves into all the things that are important to dogs. Smelling shit, and chasing cars, and every time the train comes by, ruff, 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 like, and then the train goes by and calms down again. It's this dog that's like 800 pounds with these tiny little legs, That's a great movie. If you haven't seen it, see it. You can come over to my house and we'll see it together, It's that kind of movie, for sure. These grannies that go getting... the way they get their meal is by taking grenades and throwing it into the bay and putting these upside down umbrellas up to catch all the frogs that come blown out of the water. And once they catch in their umbrellas, that's what they eat. And the bad men with their shoulders way up like this, they're really tall, and the ship that's, like 500 feet tall, and just the very bottom of the ship, is in the water, and it goes way up, and at the top a lot of visually super incredible things in that movie. And very neurologically, I mean, that thing with the dog, the way that, these associations going into the nose and spreading out and moving into other associative areas, which is what happens when we think, something comes in, whether it's a sound or something we see, something we taste, or it's something that's from some other part of the brain. It's a memory, with a memory of this, a memory of that. I'm going to see, I'm going to see that person who, I'm going to see the judge. Something like that, or my boss, I go, I've got to go and talk to the boss. And so what's going on in your mind as you're doing that? So there are, some part of the brain becomes innervated. There's an electrochemical response, a reaction I should say, that results in one nerve firing, and nerves have all these little tentacles at their transmitting end. They also have tentacles at the receiving end, both. But at the receiving end, there's the nucleus, the head of the cell, so they're short on this end. Then there's the long arm of the axon, and at the end of the axon are many more of these things. So that side, this side's the transmitting side. This side here with the head, the nucleus, that's the receiving side. And so, something happens. It's through electrochemical reactions that everything happens. It's like everything, everything that we experience. At the bottom of it is just that, electrochemical reactions. And we don't have to get very sophisticated to understand how to take advantage of how to use that information in terms of thinking of how we can develop our intelligence. The associative nature of the brain, the structure. I mean, the structure that allows for all these associations, and then because of the electrochemical aspect, as opposed to a machine, a computer, or any electrical or electronic thing, which requires continuous conductivity. And the thinking that goes on in a computer is when you get to semiconductors, let's say I'll conduct some of the time, but not other parts of the time, and that's the basis of computer thought. The thing is, that's still hardwired. Those transistors, the semiconductors, are hardwired. There still has to be an actual physical contact. And so what that means is it's not very, at this moment anyway, computers don't have the ability to rewire themselves. And actually, we don't have the ability to make, say, an axon over, okay, I'm sorry, not an axon, well, okay, an axon is the sort of the long arm of each neuron, and if it's here, let's say it's in this part of the brain, right here, right back behind my eye and here, this is there. Well, it can't snake its way through. We can't rewire ourselves that way. But what we can do is change the statistical probability of a particular stimulus resulting in a particular, maybe this one rather than this one here, this nerve, like one of those tentacles from the receiving nerve. I mean, there are all these other nerves all around with their receiving tentacles. And why it becomes this one that goes this way, and I'm oversimplifying because it's never one. It's always more. Otherwise, there's nothing. That's part of why it's statistical and why we can grow and change. If it were just a one-to-one correspondence, then we'd be stuck with what we've got. But it's not. It's a one-to-many, and there are various factors that change the exact path that any particular packet of energy is going to travel. Habits are pathways that are open for business. They're the superhighways. They're the come on in. No, you don't have to pay a toll. Just come on in. We'll drive your car for you. That's a really entrenched habit where just come on in. And if we want to think of like the bad kind, the really seriously debilitating habits, such as heroin addiction, you can imagine. I mean, at some level, there's all sorts of things going on in a heroin addict's mind that says, "Oh yes, open a path for doing the thing that I know is not good for me to do. I'm going to regret this, but I'm not. But there's actual. There's all this stuff that says, go ahead, go for it. You need it just this once, et cetera, et cetera. And that same idea can apply to any of our habits. They can be even good habits. I mean, that's the thing. A really great habit has that too. It says, come on over and finish your business before going on to the finish this item of business before going on to the next, which is in general it's a good habit, although not if you are so rigid about it